everybody, it's me, Laura, and today we're going to be using that Zentangle bow tie cane that I had created a little while ago, and we're going to make a couple of sets of jewelry, and we're going to have some fun with this using our Basic Keoker Cutters. So right away here, I'm bringing in my bow tie cane, and at first I show here that I've got like a longer piece of that bow tie cane, and then I got a shorter piece. So I decided to take that longer piece and I tried to lengthen it out, trying to keep the same size as the shorter piece, all right? And then kind of matching these up together where I have, okay, I've got the two and I'm creating the pattern I want with 4 pieces. So I've got my third, and then I had another piece and I thought, let's go ahead and bring him in. This piece was a little bit shorter, but I thought, no, I could probably get away with it. And I'll bring in the 4th piece, put it together, and then from here, I'll take this entire pattern that I've got with the 4 pieces. I'll take this pattern, I'll reduce it down, and this way then it'll be usable to create any kind of jewelry I want. Now, as I was putting these 4 pieces together, this really bugged me. Look at the difference there. I had a pretty short piece, and then I had kind of a longer piece. And so I decided that, guess what? Let's go ahead and just cut off part of that one side on one of the longer pieces on the cane that I had. Because this one was a lot longer, I thought, let's just go ahead and cut it off. And then this way then I could go ahead and fill in on the back side and then maybe get more of this bow tie cane that this compilation, if you will, together. And that way then I'll have more to work with. So, you know, if you have one cane, or I should say one basic cane, and you need to have a little bit more, cut off one side of a longer piece, slap it on the other side, and you'll probably come up with what you really want in the first place. A little longer of an overall cane to work with. All right, so I'm dealing with about 1 1/4 by 1 1/4 in diameter. That's pretty big. You don't need this thing to be 1 1/4. I mean, think about it, okay? Your earrings are definitely going to be a lot smaller when you want a smaller pattern. So I brought it down to about 3/4 of an inch here. Liked that. That was not too bad. And I thought, let's go ahead and we'll cut it in half, at least to kind of see, okay, the pattern looks pretty decent. And I just thought, we could probably stop there. That'll probably be enough. If you want to reduce down even further, go ahead and do so. This pattern is such that you might actually like it if it was reduced down even further. I just decided at 3/4 I'd stop and just kind of see what I would get. So right here I'm bringing in my copper clay, and I want to say this was rolled out on my Atlas pasta machine on a number 4 setting. I'm bringing in my bow tie canes and I'm going to start cutting slices, and then I'm going to start laying these. And I was going to do it on the clay itself, but I thought, no, if I want to be able to kind of square up the piece, because sometimes you need to use your blade to kind of make sure it's a nice square piece and it'll match up to the next slice that you go ahead and cut. I thought I'll lay it down on my table first. This way then I can join up a number of them together and it'll work really good. As for that copper clay, the copper is, you know, it was actually a mix of a little bit of copper and I think some beige, and then I also used a little bit of a glitter clay. And you can do that, or you can go strictly to just like a copper type metallic clay, and that'll work just as well, even without the glitter in it. So there you go. Anyway, from here, I'm just taking slices of this bow tie cane. We're going to place it down on our other piece of clay here, which is done in a number 4 setting. And we'll use these slices, creating a sheet, if you will. Now, you're not going to cover the entire piece of that copper-like clay. You're just going to put some down, connecting up into a pattern that you like, and then we're going to kind of make sure that each piece is connected up well enough so that you don't see any of the copper coming through. Once you have that though, and it's to the point of where you've got a nice even kind of line on either side of your black and white little pattern you got going, once you have that, we'll bring in the Keoker cutters that we want to use to start creating our first set of jewelry. All right, so now let's go ahead and bring in our Keoker Basic Clay Cutters. And I love this set. This is a really neat set. And this particular cutter, I just been eyeing for a while. I thought, oh, what a beautiful teardrop shape. I love the design of it. And I thought, let's go ahead and bring this in and try to cut. And really, I want to use part of the pattern and part of my copper. So I decided, let's go ahead and make this kind of at an angle with our pattern and then that copper. And I'm bringing in the deli sheet here, and then we'll just go ahead and cut down where we really like to have that placement on this piece. And when I cut down on this particular piece, I'm going to try to make a matching one where the pattern's going to be going the opposite way. This way then I could have a really nice set of earrings. So right here I've got one side, and then I'm coming over to the other side, and I like to I thought, yeah, let's just kind of mirror it, if you will, using that pattern. That's why I didn't cover up the entire, copper area. I wanted to have a little bit of area so I could bring both the copper and the pattern into play. So from here, I thought, okay, now that I've got the two earring pieces, we need to cut the pendant piece to kind of match in with this set. After I brought that sheet of clay back up, I placed it back down again, and this time when I decided to do the pendant, I wanted to make sure the pattern was running straight across. So not at an angle, so it would favor either side like I did with the earrings, but straight across. So right here I found where I really like it, and we'll cut down using that deli sheet to help make that really nice kind of domed look on it. Here I'm bringing in my yellow, my magenta, and my blue kind of fan folded, cane, if you will. And I'm going to reduce this down like I've kind of done a little bit already, and I'll reduce it down even further. I'm trying to get this down so I can start making little tiny petals and place these onto the earrings, creating a small flower on each of my earrings and on my pendant piece. I'll also bring in my leaf green and add in a couple of little leaves where I can. So from here, I'm just really going to go ahead and let you guys watch my hands talk as I put together this first jewelry set. All right, so I want to kind of mention here, it changes a little bit when it comes to how I put my backing on. At first, when I did this, and this is the pendant piece, I thought, let's just go ahead. I'm putting a little bit of that liquid Sculpey on there, and I'm putting just a dab of my super glue in, and I'm going to place it right over that, and then I'm going to use my needle tool to trace around the piece on this black clay that was rolled out on a number 4 setting, all right? And that works just fine. Now, with the second pieces, when it comes to the earrings, I decided, no, let's go ahead and use that cutter instead and place that down with, having it already cut, and then place the piece down glued on top of it. So I took 2 different approaches when I went ahead and did the set, but I thought it would be a nice way to show you can do either way. It's totally up to you. But once I get the backing on all 3 of these pieces, I'll go ahead and bake this then at 275 degrees to 300 for about 7 to 10 minutes. Once it's cooled, we'll go ahead and put on our jewelry findings and finish up this set. All right, so now we're going to start creating our second set of jewelry, and this time around I'm using that beigeish kind of copperish clay once more. I'm going to build my little sheet of bow tie right here on the surface of my tile. I'm not going to place it right down on the clay right away. I thought, after doing that first one, I thought, no, let's go ahead and just place it down on the tile, square it up so it works really good for me first, right? Then we can lift all of this off in one sheet using my blade and place it down on that beigeish like copper type clay. Once I do that though, we're not going to put it at an angle like I did the last one. I decided, no, let's not do that this time. Instead, we're going to have it straight on. So we're going to have this just in a line, and I'm going to have 2 rows of it. And then from there, we're going to bring in a different cutter, a cutter from that Basic Keoker clay cutter set. We're going to use a different one, this one right here, and we're going to cut straight on. So each piece, we're going to have 3 of these pieces will all be cut down where it's going in a straight line. 2/3 of it will be done with the bow tie, and then you have that copper like clay on the bottom. So I'm going to do 3 of these pieces. Once I do though, I was looking at that cutter set one more time, and I really like those smaller cutters that they include in this set. And I was like, oh man, I mean, it's just a playground of fun in that regard. So I thought, you know what? We got to bring in one of those smaller cutters as well. And so I went ahead and I was like, which one do I use? And I really liked this one. So I thought, let's go ahead. It's either that one or there was kind of one other one, but this is the one I really liked. Let's go ahead and use it on the bottom part of the earrings and the pendant set. And I thought, yeah, this worked so well. So if you get this set, yeah, there's some fun here. But at this point, I had gotten all the pieces, pretty much cut in. And once I have that, go ahead and bake this at 275 to 300 degrees, depending upon the clay you got. Remember, if it's Kato, generally 300 is okay. If it's any of the other brands, so like the copper here is probably not Kato, so I'm going to have to bake it at 275. So bake it for about 7 to 10 minutes, and then from there, we'll go ahead and have a little bit more fun. So on the second set of jewelry, I decided to start with the earrings. And this time around, I brought in a fan-folded magenta and yellow cane. And this thing was, about 1/4 of an inch, so it's very tiny. These canes are very, very tiny because really your earrings are tiny, right? You're not going to have big gargantuan things on your ears. So you're going to have to work small. And this, whenever I work small, I kind of tighten up how I work. I don't work kind of loosely and big, okay? Whenever I feel like I'm working in a bigger scale, I can get a little bit more loose with how big I do my clay. But in this regard, we're going very itsy bitsy tiny. So we need to go ahead and make sure that our petals and our canes are all that small too. So as you could tell, even my little segmented petal cane here, which I brought in, which is my purple and white, this is also very tiny. So I'm going to bring in that yellow and magenta. I'm going to place this down kind of right over the patterned area. I do cover up a little bit of the pattern. Some of you might say, you know what, I want to see more of the pattern. You don't have to do the flowers. You could just make it plainer and go without the flowers entirely. Me, I like to bring in my floral. I can't help myself. I'm kind of a nut that way. You guys will just have to bear with me. But from there, I went ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and add in a little bit more. And I'm going to bring in my nice purple clay. Plus, I'm going to bring in that same small cutter that I had used before in cutting out the open area in this larger piece, and we're going to add that into this as well. At this point, once again, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys just watch my hands talk as I have a little fun kind of completing up this earring set. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and create the pendant piece to those earrings we just kind of worked on. And always in doing the pendant piece, it has to be just slightly different from those earrings, kind of setting it apart, showing that, yes, look at me, I'm the crowning jewel. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, I'm bringing in that same little petal, and I'm going to start placing these down just like I had done on the earring set. And I'm using a little bit of super glue. Sometimes, these pieces that I did with the bow tie cane pattern on them, they've been baked, right? Well, trying to put fresh clay down is not always easy, and I need it to stick. I need it to stay in one place. So I sometimes added just a small smidgen dot of my super glue to keep it there, okay? You could probably use weld bond as well, and I probably should do that a little more often. But I've gotten so used to using my super glue, what can I say? And it goes down and it stays really fast, so I don't have to worry about it right off. I have no patience. Anyway, moving on. I've got this looking pretty much like how I had with my earrings. I'm going to go ahead and start cutting some more with that smaller cutter out of my purple, but this time around, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and place some marks down using my needle tool on this. I really loved that shape. And the more I did it, I was like, wow, this thing, I didn't realize it when I did it, but the more I kind of placed this, I thought this almost looks a little bit like a leaf. Really, it kind of does. I mean, you got the aspects of a leaf, right? And I placed that first part down just like I had with the earrings, but then I took these other two pieces and I thought, let's go ahead and flank that off to the side. But I needed to go ahead and cut this up so it was looking nice. I also pulled off the tip at the very end. I wanted that kind of dulled up a little bit. And then from here, the more I looked at it, I was like, I liked that, but I was like, okay, too much purple. Too much purple. So instead, what had really wound up happening was I took and just used one piece. One piece, cut off the very tip, put it at the very point, and then I filled in with leaves. So from here, I'm just going to go ahead and let you guys watch my hands talk one more time, and then we'll finish up this pendant piece and move on to finishing up this set entirely. All right, so now we're going to start putting the backing on our second set of jewelry, and we're going to do this in such a way that we're going to use the cutter. So we're going to cut out the basic form on our black that was rolled out in a number 4 setting on our Atlas pasta machine. And I'm cutting out 3 pieces here. However, the third piece I can't use. And I'll get to that in a little bit, but let's go ahead and deal with the first 2, if you will, because those are going to be our earrings. So I'm going to bring in my piece. I've made that hook shape with my eye pin. I'm doing a little bit of super glue, a little bit of that liquid Sculpey, and we're going to place this down onto the piece itself with that pin in place. Once I have that in and I know it's down solid, I'll go ahead, I'll make sure I do the second piece as well, but then I'll come in with my needle tool and I'll go ahead and I'll cut out that inner core where the black is. I want that to be an opening. I don't want that to be a solid black. And a lot of this is due to the fact that I created a small ball and I placed it kind of in the center point on the, on the front side of this particular earring piece, on both of them. And yes, I made the little indent with my knitting needle or with my needle tool, and that's going to have a rhinestone put in, but it's black, right? And I didn't want to have a black setting behind it, and I thought it would be really nice to have a nice opening instead right behind it. It would be really cool. So that's what I did on both of the earring pieces. Now we're going to go ahead and attack that pendant piece. And you can tell right here why I can't use the original cutter. It doesn't conform to the regular cutter. I have leaves, I've got, you might say petal pieces coming off of this, and it's not the same piece, right? And so you're going to have to come in and you're going to have to use your needle tool to cut it out all the way around. This is why, really, when I think back on it, a lot of times I don't conform, I never have, to the shape I'm given. I don't know, it's like you've heard the idea of working inside the box. Okay, I ask, what is the box? What is the box? Is there a box? I didn't know. What is a box? What does it look like? Because I don't do boxes, okay? I like to work outside of all of that. And so a lot of times, a lot of my pieces are going to be very unique because I don't conform to the actual shape that is given. This makes each of the pieces I do very different. It's also why, in my mind, and I think it helps a lot, my jewelry is very different from a lot of others. It's just not... It's not the same shape. I like to create my own shapes off of things. And I really encourage you to do the same thing. It just makes your creativity come out more. And it just takes away from the whole idea that you have to conform to a cookie cutter. No, let's not do that and say we did. So really, have fun with this. Use that needle tool like I've done right here to cut out that shape. So from here, I just go ahead and I bake this thing up 275 to 300 degrees. And then once it's cooled down after 5 to 7, well, I should say 7 to 10 minutes, I'll then bring in my little bit of super glue, my rhinestones, place those in, place in my jewelry findings, and finish this up entirely. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys just watch my hands talk as I finish up the second and final set using my Basic Keoker Cutters and my Zentangle Styled bow tie cane in the clay. All right, so this is the end result in creating my Keoker Cutter bow tie jewelry. Please use this for study and reference. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I'm always wondering what you're thinking. Otherwise, I am sending out my biggest hugs to each of you, and I hope you have a fantastic day.